There are some kinds of loneliness that do not make noise. They do not scream or break things. They simply sit beside you every morning while you drink your coffee, follow you to work, and wait for you when you come home at night. Ethan Walker knew that kind of loneliness very well. 3 years earlier, Ethan had never imagined his life would become so quiet. He used to have a house filled with laughter, tiny arguments over silly things, and warm weekend breakfasts that seemed like they would last forever. But life has a strange way of changing directions without asking permission. His wife Sarah had passed away after a sudden illness that came into their lives like a storm and left just as quickly, taking everything with it. After that day, Ethan became a single father to his little daughter Lily. She was only 6 when her mother left this world, and Ethan still remembered the confusion in her eyes when she asked why Mommy was sleeping for so long. There are no words strong enough for moments like that. Ethan learned that grief was not just pain. Grief was learning how to smile while carrying something heavy inside your chest every second of the day. Life became a routine of survival. He woke up early every morning to make Lily breakfast, struggled with her tiny ponytails because he never learned how to do them properly, packed lunches, worked long hours, picked her up from school, cooked dinner, and sat beside her at night until she fell asleep. Then, after she closed her eyes, Ethan sat alone in the living room staring at family pictures hanging on the wall. The nights were always the hardest. Sometimes he looked at Sarah's empty chair and wondered how a person could disappear but somehow still remain everywhere. He missed having someone ask how his day was. He missed hearing another pair of footsteps in the house. His neighbors knew his situation. Most people offered polite smiles and occasional help, but Ethan had become good at building walls around himself. He thanked people, smiled back, and kept moving. Next door lived Olivia Harper. Olivia was around Ethan's age and had moved into the neighborhood about a year after Sarah passed away. She had a warm personality and a habit of smiling at people even when they looked away. Ethan noticed that she often watered her flowers in the evenings while Lily played outside. Over time, Olivia slowly became part of Ethan and Lily's daily life without him realizing it. Sometimes she baked cookies and left extras at their door. Sometimes she watched Lily for a few minutes when Ethan got stuck at work. But Ethan kept his distance, not because he disliked her, because he was afraid. Afraid that opening his heart again would somehow betray the memory of the woman he loved. Afraid that happiness might disappear again. Afraid that if he cared too much, life would take something else away. Months passed quietly. Then one afternoon, Ethan received an invitation to his cousin Daniel's wedding. At first, he almost ignored it. The idea of attending a wedding felt strange. Weddings were places filled with couples holding hands, smiling at each other, dancing together under soft lights. Weddings reminded him of what he had lost. Lily was going to spend that weekend at her grandparents' house, and Ethan considered staying home. But after staring at the invitation for days, he finally decided to go, maybe because a small part of him was tired of hiding from life. The wedding day arrived on a beautiful evening covered in golden sunlight. Ethan wore a dark suit that had stayed untouched in his closet for years. Looking at himself in the mirror felt unfamiliar. He barely recognized the tired man staring back. When he arrived at the wedding venue, everything looked warm and alive. Small lights hung from trees, soft music floated through the air, and people laughed around decorated tables. Ethan smiled politely at relatives and found himself sitting alone near the back. Around him, couples danced slowly while families took pictures together. And suddenly, despite all the noise around him, Ethan felt completely alone. He watched everyone else moving through moments that felt full, while his own life seemed stuck somewhere behind him. For a moment, he wondered if this would simply be the rest of his life. Work, home, silence, memories, days repeating until years disappeared. His chest felt heavy. He looked down at his hands and thought about Sarah, thought about Lily, thought about all the things he had stopped allowing himself to feel. Then suddenly, across the garden, a familiar voice cut through the evening air. Someone shouted loudly, "Look at me!" Ethan looked up immediately. His eyes widened. Standing near the entrance was Olivia. She wore a beautiful blue dress that moved gently in the wind, and beside her stood Lily, wearing a tiny matching dress with a huge smile on her face. Ethan stared in complete shock. He had no idea what was happening. Then he remembered something. A few weeks earlier, Lily had accidentally mentioned Daniel's wedding while talking with Olivia. Apparently, Lily had also complained that her dad never went anywhere anymore and spent too much time being sad. Children have a way of telling the truth without realizing how powerful their words are. Olivia walked toward Ethan with Lily holding her hand. And suddenly Ethan saw something he had not seen in a very long time. He saw people coming toward him instead of watching people walk away. Lily ran into his arms laughing and wrapped her tiny hands around him tightly. In that moment, Ethan felt something inside him crack, not break, open. For years he had carried pain like armor. For years he thought surviving meant standing alone. But standing there with his daughter holding him and Olivia smiling nearby, he realized something important. Maybe surviving was never meant to be done alone. The evening slowly changed after that. Ethan laughed more than he expected. He danced with Lily while she stood on top of his shoes because she was still too small. He sat with Olivia and talked about ordinary things, movies, childhood memories, funny stories, simple things. But sometimes simple things heal the deepest wounds. As the night grew darker and lights glowed softly above them, Ethan felt something unfamiliar returning. Hope. Not the loud kind, not fireworks, not some magical movie moment. Just a quiet feeling deep inside his heart that whispered maybe tomorrow could be different. Weeks passed after the wedding. Then months. Life did not suddenly become perfect. Ethan still missed Sarah. There were still nights when loneliness returned, still days when grief sat beside him quietly. But little by little, things began changing. Ethan stopped staring at the empty chair every night. He started taking Lily to parks more often. He started smiling more naturally. He started opening the curtains wider every morning, and Olivia remained there beside them, not pushing, not forcing anything, simply staying. Some people enter your life like storms. Others arrive like sunrise. Slowly, gently, until one day you realize darkness is gone. One afternoon, Ethan found an old family picture hidden inside a drawer. Years earlier, looking at that photo would have broken him. But this time he smiled, because for the first time, remembering Sarah did not feel like drowning. It felt like gratitude. Gratitude for the love he once had. Gratitude for the daughter they created together. Gratitude that life had given him another chance to breathe again. Months later, Ethan stood outside his house watching Lily ride her bicycle while Olivia laughed nearby. The sunset painted the sky with soft orange colors. And suddenly Ethan understood something that grief had taken years to teach him. Losing someone you love does not mean your story ends. Pain may stay with you. Scars may stay with you. Memories will always stay with you. But life keeps moving, and sometimes, when you least expect it, someone stands in the distance and reminds you to look up again. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment to support the video with a like and share it with someone who may need this message today. And before this story ends, leave a comment below and tell us, have you ever met someone who quietly changed your life without even realizing it? Because somewhere out there, someone who feels alone today needs to know that healing is possible. Ethan looked toward Lily and Olivia one more time as the evening sunlight wrapped around them, and for the first time in many years, he did not feel like a man who had lost everything. He felt like a man who had finally found his way home.